So what we're doing is we are doing the oil cooler line, lower oil cooler line on the Mercedes. I'm gonna try to do an easier way. I've ordered these AC style clamps. These are for I think size 12 AC line. They've got this I don't know what you want to call it, this strip of metal that goes, and it's supposed to slip into the groove that your normal crimp would fit into. So that keeps this line, once that fits in there and you crimp this down, that'll keep this line from ever blowing off. So hopefully this will fit well. It fits a little bit loose, but I think once the line goes on, that'll be about perfect. We've got I think there's enough crimp here that it will tighten up on the hose, but if not, temporarily we'll put just regular hose clamps on it, and then we will actually I'll either order a line for it, or I'll take this off and take it to my hydraulic shop and actually have them put a crimp on it. So then, which is actually probably what I'll do, because I've got the hose. This is 15mm hose. Ordered it from this place. I know some people use 5/8 on these, but 5/8 is going to fit a little bit loose. 15mm is the actual correct size. I've got an actual clamp, or a crimper for these clamps. I've done quite a few CV boots, and the same kind of clamp as CV boots, and I bought this. You can use side cutters, but this kind's nice because it keeps the middle from squishing up. When you use side cutters, this squishes up. So what we're going to do to try to make this easier, we're going to go ahead and pull the fan and the fan shroud, and that'll just give us more room to work down there. I'm going to use a air cutoff tool to get in there, and we're going to slice the old clamp off, and being sure not to get into the metal line. Once we get it mostly sliced off, because I can't get where it fits into this raised portion, I can't get that, but I think it'll split. You can get a screwdriver in here and spread the clamp out, and I think it'll split open the rest of the way. Once we get that off, we can we'll measure up this hose to our new one and cut it the same length, slip it on, and put our clamps on there. But I think to give myself some more room to work, removing the fan and the fan shroud is going to be the best route to take, and hopefully we won't have to remove the upper radiator hose. I don't want to open the cooling system up. So let's get started. I'll put y'all on time lapse. I need to go get a light, get some tools, and we'll get started. Okay, now we got some room to work. You can see down in here, that oil line is pretty oily. Not as much room as I would hope to have. I might have to do some creativeness to get that cut off. We'll see. So let me get in there and see if I can get it off. is released. I'm going to leave that hose on until I get the other one undone. Once I slip the hose off, I should be able to just get that crimp right off. I should give it enough slack to just come off. It's released. What I did, I used my cutoff tool to grind through all the clamp except the part where it's in this little, there's a hump, a little ridge on each side of the clamp on this line. That's for the clamp to fit into. So you don't want to get into that. Broke it loose, or broke the bottom part. So now I'm going to take some brake cleaner and clean up all where those hoses are and get it ready to slip the hose off. I want to make sure it's all clean. What I did, because I was doing a lot to that line, of course this one up here, you know, is clamped, so that's holding it steady. I didn't want to hurt the oil cooler, so I slipped a board and some shims in here to, it's tight, to brace up that oil cooler line, and then did what I said I would. I ground the clamp down a little at a time, and then used my screwdriver to spread it open, and then I could see where it was still being held. And I'd go grind, you know, some more off. Wanted to make sure I didn't grind too deep, so just a little at a time and working with it. And then I was able to get my screwdriver wedged in there to pry open the clamp and break it where it's in that little, between those two humps, because I couldn't get in there to grind it. And I tried to get in there, there was just not enough room. If I had somebody here to hold the punch while I hammered, I probably could do it, but trying to snake both my arms in there to get to it, I just couldn't do it. By the time I snaked my right arm around to hold the punch, I couldn't get in there with my left hand. I was in such an awkward position. So, but we got it. We didn't have to do that, and it kept us from having to hammer on the line anyway. So yeah, let me I might go ahead and just take a knife. After I clean that up, I'll probably take a knife and split the hose, both of them, both ends, to make it slip off easier. And we'll get them off and measure them, get the new ones cut, and get them slipped on and clamped. Just to make sure. Should have enough room to get in here. Yeah, there should be plenty of room to get in here and clamp these. Okay, I figured before I crimp them, I would show y'all how these work. You see it? That's that little valley, the little lips or whatever you want to call it, that the clamp, the old clamp, fit into. And so this one, once you crimp it, that little tab goes down in that valley, and that'll keep the clamp from slipping off. And these clamps are the perfect
size. Putting the hose on here swelled the hose up just enough that these fit. If they were any tighter, you would not get them on here. They are just the perfect size. Just enough looseness in them to be able to slip them on here without having to you know, where they should still crimp tight. And I forgot to mention it over here. I put a license plate when I was grinding that clamp. I put a license plate here to make sure I didn't accidentally nick the oil cooler, and I nicked the license plate a few times. And if I wouldn't have the license plate, I'd probably have been a little more careful, but come on, focus. There we go. So here's the other one. And I guess I can have y'all help me. Let's review back over this video. I can't. I can't tell. But we'll take a look at that and make sure it's good, and then we'll get in there with our crimper and crimp them tight. And I just used my old hose as a guide for length and cut this one the same length, and it seems to be about perfect. So let me I'm gonna try, you know, make sure that they won't slip up on there just a little bit more, and I'll make sure the little tabs in the groove there, and we'll go ahead and crimp them. We're done. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and I think before I put the, I'm trying to decide if I put the fan on it, and I'm going to have to at least put bolts in the water pump pulley to start it up. I guess I might as well put the fan back on it. Well, we can put 2 bolts in the water pump pulley maybe, and crank it up. Make sure we have no leaks. I took some brake cleaner, cleaned it off some more, and we'll crank it up and see if they're leaking. Some nice crimps. The crimper does a nice job. Alright, so
no leaks. The oil cooler line was leaking, like I said, and I was worried it was going to blow off. This is the old hose. It is original Mercedes-Benz. And so is the upper one. The upper one's not leaking. Well, I'm not going to say they're original. They are Mercedes-Benz. Well, I say that. I know the upper one is because it had Mercedes on the crimp. Had the Mercedes logo. Surely this one that was leaking was too, but it may not be. I don't know. I don't see it on there, so it may not have been. This one, if you look, see? So it's possible somebody put a lower one on it and the lower one was inferior quality, and maybe this is a replacement OEM one or something, I don't know. But it was leaking. I think this is this is probably the best fix to me that you could do to it without actually taking the lines off. If you're gonna do an on-car fix, to me this is the best solution. You've got these clamps, these are good clamps. I think that's a good solution. I'll put links to the hose, the clamps, and the crimper in the description. And you know, if you need a fairly easy, I would say this was fairly easy. If you need a fairly easy way to replace these, or to get them to stop leaking without removing the lines, then I would say this is the best option. Like I said, you could do a regular worm style clamp, but honestly it's not going to be any easier, because these are easy to crimp. I had a little bit of difficulty, but I had just enough room to get in there and crimp those two, the lower ones. So you know, it's not the hardest part of this is getting the old clamps, the crimp clamps off, you know. And if you've got air cutoff wheel, you can do it. You can do it with the Dremel too. So you can get a cheap Dremel from Harbor Freight for probably 20 bucks. So if you don't have air tools. So anyway, I'm gonna wrap this up. I'm gonna go ahead and just put the fan back on, but I'm gonna call it quits for the video. And so again, links to all this will be in the description, and thanks for watching.